Great history, great legacy, and nothing short of great when it comes to its delicacies. All beautifully nestled in together in the heart of this bustling city. This is Agra, a home to massive forts, ancient roads, gardens, and magnificent mausoleums, which for years have been weaving a fabric full of heritage and history, all of which we love at Raahi.
Hi, I'm Yukti and I'm about to take you to one of the most beautiful destinations of our life. Something which, in the words of Rabindranath Tagore, is a teardrop on the face of eternity.
The Taj Mahal, the heaven on earth, the Mughal Empire's ultimate artistic expression, emulated but never equaled. Acquired from Raja Jai Singh, the king of Amir, this specific plot of land was curiously chosen by the architects of this wonder. After the death of Mumtaz Mahal in 1631 at Burhanpur, where she passed away while giving birth to their 14th child, a daughter named Koharara. The court chroniclers recorded the whole event saying, when she brought out the last single pearl, she emptied her body like an oyster. Ironically enough, as beautiful was the expression, it is said the more dreadful was Shah Jahan's pain, as it is also recorded that while his eyes were pearls of sadness, his hair turned white overnight. The only words which stuck back with him were his ailing wife's last, when she on her deathbed asked for him to build her a mausoleum, the likes of which were not on earth. Well, it's safe to say that he did build her one, the likes of which, even after 400 years or so today, are not existent. The Roza-e Munawwara, the illumined tomb, more popularly known as the Taj Mahal, deriving its name from Mumtaz Mahal, which got distorted by popular etymology. It was largely constructed between 1632 to 1647, almost taking over 22 years to build, with 20,000 craftsmen being employed to bring the 5th Mughal emperor's colossal dream to life. An ideal synthesis of the Indo-Islamic architecture, executed in red sandstone and milk-white marble, made available from Makrana, Rajasthan. This represented a plethora of narratives, and as opposed to common perception, this marvel of age also represented unorthodoxy, as it goes against the Quranic perception that tombs should be open to the sky, the one practice which was upheld by Babur himself. However, for Shah Jahan, as is stated in the words of Abdul Hamid Lahori, the Taj was an expression of a ruler's sky-reaching ambition and an undying passion for fine building and architecture, along with an undying love for the Lady of the Taj herself. The love and adoration in Mughals for architecture, and more specifically gardens, finds its root from the time of Babur himself, as he exhibited a keen interest in developing paradise-like gardens, the manifestation of which can be seen not far away from the Taj Mahal itself, as the Mehtab Bagh, developed by him, lies right across Taj Mahal at the banks of Yamuna, providing for solace with the Taj's view itself. A part of the reason why this specific 17 acres plot of land was selected for building the Taj. The love for architecture then soared in Mughals, the reason and manifestation of which we see today in the form of seamless marriage of art, architecture, and engineering, all at the heart of Agra, all of which was accordingly planned and managed by the Emperor Shah Jahan and his employees. As the court historian Lahori mentioned about Mir Abdul Karim and Muqammat Khan, referred to as the superintendents of construction, as is also implied by their title, which suggests of them being the main project managers responsible for carrying out the construction work. These two happen to be some of the most prominent names when it comes to tracing the history of Taj. But having said that,
The question now arises, who built this marvelous tomb? Who was the one who built this in an utmost symmetrical yet flawless way? Who was the one to design this exquisite beauty?
While Abdul Hamid Lahori, the court chronicler, fails to mention any specific name in this regard, this particular question has been associated with much disputes, with the name of a Venetian architect Geronimo Veronio coming in, attributing this monument to a European background instead. That being said, it is indeed believed that Veronio was consulted by Shah Jahan, but that was still a far cry from being an architect per se. All said and done, putting aside all disputes in the end, the most creditable name happens to be of Ustad Ahmad Lahori, the court architect of the Red Fort in Delhi, as was claimed by his son, although still the conformity of this is not received. All controversies and conflicts of the Takht-e-Tosh aside, it is recorded by the chroniclers and travellers that the royal mind was illustrious like the sun and paid full attention to planning and construction of these lofty and substantial buildings. Shah Jahan's tryst with architecture was an old one, the one which Jahangir is also said to have mentioned about. But this tryst is said to have gotten even more concentrated in the time of grief of his wife's loss. The reason why the Taj was built with great ingenuity and intricacy. As even though the monument looks completely white from a distance, the more near you go, you'll realize the intricacy of the extensively decorated calligraphy, stone carving, and inlay, both inside and out. Amongst which the prominent calligraphy of the Taj is attributed to Amanat Khan, a calligrapher of a Persian descent, celebrated for his imaginative versions of the Arabic script, the one who is credited with the calligraphy of the Akbar's tomb. The person who is also said to have been really close to Shah Jahan due to the emperor's personal love for calligraphy, and the great intricacy portrayed by him in inlaying the Quranic verses onto the canvas of the Taj Mahal itself.
It was then no wonder that Shah Jahan let Amanat Khan sign this beautiful marble, a feat which had no precedent in the entire Mughal history.
Looking down upon its visitors since the 17th century, from a height of about 73 meters, weighing around a whopping 2.5 thousand trillion kilos, lying on a plinth of 6.7 meters, clad in white marble, the monument endures to overwhelm people from around the world with its remarkable symmetry. And adding to this exquisite design are the four minarets, rising to about 139 feet, topped with octagonal chhatris tapering towards the outside. When built, these minarets were described to be the ladders towards the heaven, adding further to the monument's splendor. Splendor, grandeur, might, the wonder in white. These words now have almost become synonymous to the whole structure, and the quintessential white of this beauty is because of its marble brought in from Makrana, the one which is ingeniously inlaid with carves of rare and delicate workmanship in the form of a variety of colored stones and precious gems. As according to the French jeweler Jean-Baptiste Trevenier, there was no one more proficient in the knowledge of stones than Shah Jahan himself. The one interest manifested with the inlaying of stones like jade, jasper, cornelian, all in the styles of Petre Dore, further enhancing the mystical and mythical aura of the building. Accompanied by intricate stone inlays, relief carvings, and incised painted decorations dominated with floral themes depicted primarily through iris, lily, lotus, and tulips. All engineered in order to evoke a vision of heaven and to epitomize the holy abodes of paradise. And this notion of paradise then came congruous to that of a garden with the Islamic Persian tradition of gardens, the inspiration for which was sought from the Timurid garden tradition. The garden of the Taj, as suggested by the French traveller Francois Bernier, was found full of flowers. And further adding to its beauty were the ingenious fountains laid right at the center with great sophistication and skill, attesting to the premise of the Taj being an immense achievement of a marriage between engineering and art. After the construction of this remarkable edifice, while Shah Jahan still lived, he witnessed four of his sons fight amongst themselves for his throne. The victor amongst them, Aurangzeb, incarcerated Shah Jahan himself within the Agra fort in the year 1658. And it was here that Shah Jahan passed his final years in imprisonment at this very complex of Shah Burj, where he reputedly passed his days gazing right across the river Yamuna towards the Taj Mahal, where the Lady of the Taj laid. From this copper-domed octagonal tower built on a bastion projecting out over the river, he was consoled by Jahanara, his devoted companion during confinement, with whom he breathed his last, in 1666 at the age of 73. After which, as opposed to Jahanara's wish, Aurangzeb did not sanction a state funeral, but a quiet and quick one, in which Shah Jahan was laid beside Mumtaz in the marble crypt of the Taj Mahal. In his 73 years of life, being a very pivotal part of the fortunes of the Mughal Empire, he witnessed and also hatched all sorts of conflicts and conspiracies. But amidst the chaos of the big power rivalry between the Takht and the Takhta, it was his tryst with art and architecture which truly offered him the much needed respite. Of course, second only to the love of his wife, cutting across all kinds of turmoil at once, and thus leaving a legacy for the posterity to come. It is a legacy which continues to inspire. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, the seventh wonder of the world, the Taj Mahal is a story of great ambition, be it of love or power. A story which, even after there being a ton of controversies, gets manifested in the form and shape of utmost magnificence, leaving out one thing for certain, which is, all said and done, this was indeed a result of deep emotion. The one which continues to fascinate the world over. What did you learn out of the story of the Mumtaz's Taj? Please do tell us, as until then, it is an adieu from Taj and from Raahi. Until next time.